At 3:12 a.m., a door appeared in the corridor. It was not there before. The hallway camera in Sector B had been recording that wall for 6 years. There had never been a door there, only a plain concrete wall. But on the recording from that night, a narrow metal door stood in the middle of the corridor. The security guard reviewing the footage thought it was a mistake. Maybe a maintenance team had installed something. But when he checked the live camera feed, the wall was still empty. No door. Just concrete. Yet the recording clearly showed it. A door with a small metal handle. No number. No label. Just a door. The timestamp on the recording was clear. 3:12 a.m. Security assumed it was a camera glitch, but the next night, they watched the camera carefully. The hallway stayed normal until the clock reached 3:12. At that exact second, the door appeared again. Not slowly, not fading in. It simply existed between 2 frames of the recording. One frame showed the empty wall. The next frame showed the door. Securities froze the footage. The door looked real. It had shadows, reflections from the ceiling lights, even small scratches in the paint. But when they switched to the live feed, the wall was empty again. The door existed only in the recording, every night at 3:12, for exactly 40 seconds. Then it disappeared. At first, nothing happened near the door. It simply stood there in the corridor. Closed. Silent. But on the 4th night, something changed. At 3:12, the door appeared again. 5 seconds later, the handle moved. It turned slowly. Then the door opened a few centimeters. Security leaned closer to the monitor. The hallway behind the camera was empty, but the door in the recording opened slightly. Inside was darkness. No light. No visible room. Just a black space beyond the doorway. After a few seconds, the door closed again. Then, it disappeared. The next night, security set up additional cameras in the hallway. 3 cameras facing the same wall. At 3:12, the recording from camera B showed the door again. But the other camera showed only the wall. The door existed in only one recording. Camera B, the same camera that had seen it the first night. The engineers checked the hardware. They replaced the camera. New cables. New recording system. But the next night at 3:12, the door appeared again. Still only on that camera. Still for 40 seconds. And still in the same place. Security began watching every recording carefully. They noticed something strange. Each night, the door opened slightly more. First, a few centimeters. Then halfway, then almost completely. And each night, the darkness behind it seemed deeper, as if the doorway led somewhere without light. Then on the 9th night, the camera recorded something else. At 3:12, the door appeared. The handle turned. The door opened completely. For the first time, the camera could see inside. There was a corridor. It looked almost identical to the hallway outside. Same lights, same walls, same floor pattern, but something was wrong. The corridor inside the doorway stretched much farther than the building layout allowed. And at the far end of that corridor, someone was standing. A person, motionless, watching the doorway. Security zoomed the footage. The figure was wearing a dark uniform, very similar to the building security uniforms. But the person did not move. They simply stood there, watching. Then, slowly, the figure began walking toward the door. Step, step. Step, see step, closer to the camera. Security held their breath. The person inside the corridor stopped just before the doorway. They leaned slightly forward, as if looking through the door into the hallway. Then the recording ended. The door disappeared at 3 hours, 12 minutes and 40 seconds. The next night, the guards waited again. They wanted to see if the person would return. At exactly 3:12, the door appeared. But this time, it was already open. The corridor beyond it was visible immediately. The lights inside were dim, and the same figure stood there again, closer than before. Security zoomed the camera. They tried to see the face, but the image was slightly blurred. The person took another step forward. Then another. Finally, they stopped directly in front of the doorway. Now the camera could see their uniform clearly. It was identical to the security uniform used in the building. The figure slowly raised one hand and pointed toward the camera. Then the recording ended. The door vanished. The guards looked at each other in silence, because the uniform inside the corridor had one detail: a name tag. The name tag said Michael. Michael was the guard currently watching the monitors. He slowly looked down at his own uniform. The name tag on his chest also said Michael. The next night, security changed the camera again. They even replaced the entire recording system. But at 3:12, the door still appeared. Still on the same wall, still only on that camera. And still open. But this time, the corridor beyond the door was empty. No figure. No movement. Just the long hallway stretching into darkness. Security zoomed the footage again. At the very end of the corridor, something moved. A shadow crossed the floor. Then another, and another, as if several people were walking somewhere far away, but none of them approached the door. The recording lasted 40 seconds. Then, the door disappeared again. 2 days later, something happened in the real hallway. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the guards heard a sound behind them. A metal click. They turned toward the corridor outside the security room. For a moment they thought they heard a door opening, but there was no door in that hallway. Only a concrete wall. The sound stopped. The guards checked the cameras. Camera B was still recording. The wall was empty. No door. But the recording file created at that moment contained something unusual. The final frame showed the wall, but in the reflection of the floor, the outline of a door could be seen, half open, and just inside the doorway, a pair of shoes, standing still, facing the camera. The official report ended with one final note. The door never appeared in the hallway. It only appeared in the recording, but the sound the guards heard that night suggested something else. The door was real. It simply opened on the other side.